You are not compensated for the hours you spend. You are compensated for the value you deliver. That distinction sits at the very foundation of success. Whether you earn by the hour, receive a salary, work on commission, or build your own business, time moves at the same pace for everyone. Every clock ticks identically. Yet compensation is vastly different. Why? Because time itself has no bias. Value does. Time is neutral. Each person wakes up with the same 24 hours. The wealthy and the struggling, the joyful and the burdened, the young and the old. The difference is never the clock. The difference is what gets poured into those hours. And here is the truth that changes everything. Income follows personal growth, not growth in the economy, not growth in the company, not growth in circumstances, growth in you. I remember being a young man who worked hard, showed up every day and followed the routine. I put in the hours. I kept my head down. I stayed busy. Yet my paycheck barely moved. Maybe you've felt that frustration too. You tell yourself, if I just keep going, something has to change. Surely effort alone will pay off. But the years pass and nothing changes. Same routine, same reward. That's when the lesson became clear. To earn more, you must become more. Time alone never delivers a bigger harvest. It's the seeds you plant and how well you nurture them. Some people plant nothing and are surprised when nothing grows. Others plant a little and collect a little. And then there are those who study the soil, water consistently, cultivate patiently, and their fields overflow. Life responds not merely to effort, but to learning paired with effort. Here's the principle. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were stronger. Don't wish for fewer problems. Wish for greater skill. Stop looking for handouts and start looking for ways to increase your value. Every environment you enter, the marketplace, your family, your community, rewards value. Always has, always will. Some will say, but isn't that unfair? Shouldn't everyone receive the same just for showing up? The feeling is understandable, but nature doesn't operate that way. You don't receive apples because you want them. You receive apples because you cared for the tree. The fruit belongs to those who become fruitful. So ask yourself a better question. How can I bring more value to this hour? How can I sharpen my contribution? How can I make my presence stronger and more meaningful? It begins when you stop measuring your worth by time spent and start measuring it by value delivered. I once worked in a company where the differences between people became impossible to ignore. Some had been there for years, yet their income barely moved. Others advanced quickly, earning more responsibility and greater rewards. It wasn't age. It wasn't seniority. It wasn't time. It was value. They learned new skills. They embraced challenges. They refined their attitude. And the marketplace noticed. So let's settle this at the foundation. You are not paid for the hour. You are paid for the value you bring to the hour. When you grow, you earn. When your value increases, rewards follow naturally. Don't wait for the world to improve. Improve yourself and observe what changes. When you change, everything around you responds. When you grow, your income grows. When you become valuable, opportunity finds you. That is the law of value. Now comes the marketplace equation. The marketplace does not respond to need. It responds to value. That lesson can feel harsh, but it is one of life's great truths. There was a time when I was struggling deeply. I showed up with empty pockets and big dreams, hoping someone would notice how badly I needed a break. I believed that surely my responsibilities, worries, and bills should count for something. But the marketplace wasn't listening. The world is not built on sympathy. The sun shines on everyone. Rain falls on prepared fields and neglected ones alike. The marketplace isn't a parent handing out allowances. It doesn't reward struggle. It rewards contribution. And while that may sound tough, it's also empowering, because it means you are not trapped by your circumstances. Wanting more is not a strategy. Wishing is not a plan. Hoping alone changes nothing. You can want a better job, but unless you become a stronger candidate, someone else will get it. You can desire a better relationship, but unless you grow into a better partner, nothing improves. You can dream of a thriving business, but without developing business skills, customers won't arrive simply because you wish they would. Here is the formula. Value first, reward second. Contribution first, compensation second. The world doesn't pay for need. It pays for solutions. Progress doesn't respond to desire. It responds to development. Two people can work at the same desk for the same company, doing similar work, and one earns twice as much. Is it luck? Rarely. It is almost always value. One brought sharper skills, a stronger attitude, and extra effort, and the marketplace responded. The truth is simple. If you want more, you must become more. If you want change, you must change. The marketplace doesn't hear wishes, but it always hears value. That's why personal development must remain the focus. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to earn the next level? What can I learn that would increase my impact? How can I solve more problems and serve more people? Stop waiting for the world to give you what you need. The world moves in response to what you become. The greater your value, the greater your rewards. That equation never fails. It is as predictable as the seasons. Before the world ever notices a change on the outside, something must shift on the inside. Before your value increases out there, growth must happen in here. Life is an inside job. I once searched everywhere for answers, everywhere except within. I thought the right opportunity, the right person, or the right circumstance would fix everything. But real change began the moment I turned inward. Skills, attitude, and philosophy form the foundation of value. Long before your paycheck changes, your mindset must change. Long before circumstances shift, habits, beliefs, and thoughts must evolve. The world doesn't pay for potential. It pays for performance. And performance is born from internal preparation. Success is something you attract by the person you become. That's why you don't chase success. You build yourself. Work harder on who you are than on what you do. When you invest in your mind, character, and outlook, results eventually appear in your finances and relationships. Attitude matters. Attitude stores your past, voices your present, and predicts your future. With a poor attitude, even great skills lose their power. With a resilient, positive outlook, doors open even in difficult times. Philosophy matters too. How you interpret the world shapes how you respond to it. A strong personal philosophy becomes your compass during storms. It helps you remain steady instead of reactive. And then there are skills. The marketplace pays for mastery. You don't need to be exceptional at everything, but you must be exceptional at something. Depth creates distinction. Mastery sets you apart. But it all starts within. The world cannot give you what you haven't first given yourself. If you want more opportunity, grow your value. If you want more income, expand your skills. If you want better relationships, refine your character. Inner change always comes before outer reward. The most valuable project you will ever work on is you. Strengthen your mind, sharpen your attitude, develop your habits. When you change internally, the world must respond. And no one can take that away from you. Jobs disappear, markets shift, but who you become remains forever. Yet foundations alone aren't enough. You must keep building, and that's where skills multiply value. Each new skill adds another layer. One skill opens a door. Stacked skills make you irreplaceable. I began with a simple job that required little beyond showing up. But when I learned one additional skill, my value doubled. A second skill expanded possibilities. A third multiplied impact. Communication was my first multiplier, not just speaking, but connecting, persuading, and inspiring. If you can communicate, you can lead. If you can lead, you multiply results. Leadership transforms value. Discipline ties everything together. Without it, talent becomes a burden. Discipline bridges goals and achievement. It means doing what must be done, when it must be done, regardless of mood. Disciplined people become reliable, and reliability is rare. Now imagine someone who communicates well, leads effectively, and shows up with discipline every day. Add one more skill: sales, problem-solving, or numbers. Each skill adds another layer of value. Skills compound, they stack. A carpenter who learns accounting, an accountant who learns sales, a salesperson who learns management. Each combination multiplies worth. And the best part? Skills are learnable. You can decide today to develop a new skill this year and dramatically increase your value. The only true limit is your willingness to learn. I once read that if you dedicate just one focused hour a day to studying a new field, within 5 years you can become a national expert. Think about the advantage that creates. Most people will never do it. They're too busy, too distracted, too comfortable in routine. But those who commit to learning, those who keep adding new tools to their skill set, never worry about their value in the marketplace. So ask yourself an important question. What is the next skill you could learn? Where could you multiply your value? Don't wait for opportunity to be handed to you. Create it by becoming the person who has more to offer. The more skills you acquire, the more doors you can walk through. Build your skills. Stack your talents. Multiply your value. That is how you become indispensable, not by hoping, but by preparing. That is the art of the skill multiplier. Yet even as you develop skills, remember this. It's not only about what you know, it's about what you do with what you know. Every reward in the marketplace flows from one core principle: contribution. Value moves toward those who solve problems. That is the channel, that is the flow. The larger the problems you solve, the more people you serve, the greater your rewards become. I learned early that the world isn't waiting to hand out recognition for effort alone. It rewards solutions. It took time for that lesson to sink in. I used to wonder why some people seem to have opportunity, recognition, and resources flowing their way, while others remain stuck despite working hard. Then it became clear. The difference is contribution. Ask yourself every single day, how can I help more people, and how can I help them more effectively? That question alone has the power to expand your influence and your income more than almost anything else. The answers you discover, and more importantly, the actions you take, will shape your future. People don't pay for problems, they pay for solutions. The size of your income is a direct reflection of the size of the problems you are willing and able to solve. That's why the person who handles complex challenges earns more than the one who simply clocks in and clocks out. The one who leads a team through uncertainty. The one who can negotiate, innovate, unite people, and create clarity. Those are the individuals the marketplace actively seeks and rewards. One of life's greatest satisfactions is knowing that you made a difference, that you contributed. When you wake up each morning looking for ways to add value to your customers, your colleagues, your family, you build more than wealth. You build trust, fulfillment, reputation, and purpose. Contribution doesn't always come in dramatic gestures. Often it's quiet. It's doing what needs to be done when no one is watching. It's a kind word, an encouraging message, or an extra effort to make something just a little better. Every contribution matters. Over time, they compound, and before you realize it, people begin to rely on you, trust you, and seek you out. The law of contribution is always working. So take this challenge seriously. Become known as someone who solves problems, not someone who creates them. Be the person who looks for ways to lighten the load, improve outcomes, and transform challenges into opportunities. The more you do this, the more the world opens up to you. Here's something remarkable. When you master the art of helping others, your own needs begin to take care of themselves almost automatically. The more people you help, the more people want to help you. That's the law. Give first, receive second. But remember, it's not just about helping more people, it's about helping them better. Excellence in contribution matters. Ask yourself honestly, are you doing it well? Are you going the extra mile? Are you listening carefully, learning continuously, improving consistently? The better you become at serving others, the greater your rewards. Solve more problems. Help more people. Do it with excellence. That is the path to value, fulfillment, and lasting wealth. But it doesn't stop at helping. How you help is what separates the good from the great. Greatness is born from a commitment to refining the craft. Excellence is not talent. It is attention. It is the willingness to study, practice, and polish what you already do well. Average effort never commands exceptional reward. I've met many talented people over the years. Some could sing, some could sell, some could captivate a room with just a few words. But talent alone is never enough. Talent may open the door, but it is refinement that keeps it open and eventually earns you a seat at the table. I remember standing in front of audiences early in my journey, hoping natural ability would carry me through. Sometimes it did. Often it didn't. I had to study, take notes, listen closely, and practice relentlessly. What you do when no one is watching determines what you're trusted to do when everyone is watching. Excellence is never accidental. It is intentional. Average is everywhere. People do what's required, give just enough effort, and then wonder why breakthroughs never come. But those who pay attention to details, who review their work one more time, ask one more question, read one more chapter, those are the ones who stand out. Whatever your craft may be, sales, leadership, business ownership, parenting, coaching, or community building, there is always room for refinement. There is an art to polishing the ordinary until it becomes extraordinary. The difference between average and excellence is often just a few small things done consistently. The extra call, the careful review, listening a little longer, preparing a little more, checking the details. These habits build a reputation for excellence. They become your invisible signature on everything you touch. Don't believe the myth that excellence requires genius. It requires focus. It requires caring enough to not just finish, but to finish well. When you do what others won't, you earn what others can't. Excellence also means remaining a lifelong student. There is always more to learn, a better method to discover, a sharper approach to refine. The world evolves, the marketplace shifts. Those who continue practicing, learning, and seeking feedback stay ahead. Ask yourself, where can I be just a little better than yesterday? How can I improve what I already do by just 5%? That small edge compounds, and before long you're operating on an entirely different level. The marketplace notices, customers notice, colleagues notice. The world rewards those who care enough to do it right. Average effort never produces exceptional reward. It is the extra attention, the polish, the care that transforms good into great. Refine your craft, study it, practice it, perfect it. Become known for excellence in everything you do. That is the road to real value. That is how you set yourself apart. Yet there is another force that quietly multiplies every opportunity: character. Skill may get you into the room, but character keeps you there. Reputation is invisible value. Trust, integrity, reliability, these qualities move ahead of you and linger behind you, with the opening doors long after words are forgotten. I learned early that people are always watching, even when you think they aren't. They watch how you respond to pressure. They watch how you treat those who can offer you nothing. They notice whether you keep your word when it costs you something. These moments build or destroy reputation. Trust is the foundation. If your word means nothing, nothing else matters. I've seen incredibly talented people lose opportunities because they cut corners or failed to keep promises. The world is searching for people who do what they say. No excuses, no explanations, just results. Punctuality is another mark of character. Being on time communicates respect, for others and for yourself. Something so simple can set you apart. Chronic lateness sends a message about priorities. Consistent punctuality sends a message about reliability. And then there is integrity, doing the right thing when no one is watching. Integrity builds legacies. It gives you the strength to reject shortcuts and choose the longer, harder, but ultimately more rewarding path. I've seen businesses rise and fall on the strength of one person's character. Deals made or lost based solely on trust. You cannot buy a good reputation. You earn it, one decision at a time, over a lifetime, and it is worth every effort. When you build character, something powerful happens. You become a magnet for opportunity. People want to work with you, trust you, and rely on you. Your reputation begins to precede you. Before you ever enter the room, people already know whether you can be trusted. Character is forged in small moments. When you could take the easy path, when you could let something slide, when no one would ever know, except you. Those moments define your future. The choices made in private eventually speak loudly through results. Ask yourself, am I building a reputation that adds value wherever I go? Am I someone others can count on? When the answer is yes, opportunities multiply, often in unexpected ways. Skill gets attention. Character keeps the invitation coming. Build your skills, but never neglect your reputation. That's how you become truly valuable. And here is a reality worth remembering. The marketplace is fair, but it is not sentimental. It does not measure intention, emotion, or effort. It measures contribution. The world doesn't pay for trying. It pays for results. Early in my career, I worked alongside people who were honest, hard-working, and loyal. They invested long hours, sometimes more than anyone else. Yet rewards often went to those who delivered measurable outcomes. It wasn't personal. It wasn't unfair. It was the marketplace responding to contribution. Effort alone doesn't move the needle. Trying harder, wishing longer, hoping more, none of these create results. Only outcomes do. The best intentions in the world mean nothing unless they translate into solutions and improvement. I once knew someone who was constantly busy, always moving, always working, but lacking focus, polish, and follow-through. Meanwhile, another person worked more quietly, approached tasks with clarity and a solution-oriented mindset. Guess who advanced? Guess who earned trust, contracts, and recognition? The marketplace doesn't reward noise. It rewards results. Hard work matters, but it's only part of the equation. Hard work is the soil, skill is the seed, value is the fruit. You can work harder than anyone else, but if your effort doesn't solve problems or create value, the marketplace won't respond. So the real question becomes, how do you ensure your effort produces results? The answer is simple, though not easy. Focus on impact, solve real problems, improve systems, help people succeed. When your contribution is clear, your rewards become clear as well. Economic reality is impartial. It doesn't reward passion alone. It doesn't reward virtue alone. It rewards performance. And performance is measured by contribution, the tangible difference you make in people's lives, in team success, and in organizational results. You cannot manipulate the marketplace. You cannot persuade it to pay for effort or loyalty or intention, but you can master it by understanding its rules and responding with undeniable value. Position yourself as someone whose contribution is obvious, measurable, and impossible to ignore. That is how value is built, and that is how opportunity follows. Remember this, the marketplace never apologizes. It doesn't reward excuses. It doesn't care how badly you wanted to make a difference. It cares only about the difference you actually made. Once you internalize that truth, something shifts. Your mindset changes, your actions become aligned, and your results begin to follow naturally. Work hard, absolutely, but also work intelligently. Strive to be effective, not merely busy. Deliver outcomes, not just effort. That is how you align yourself with economic reality, and that is how you become genuinely valuable in the eyes of the world. But sustained value requires sustained growth. If you want to keep delivering more, you must keep investing in yourself. Books, mentors, courses, reflection. These are not optional ideas, they are the currency of growth. Every investment you make in yourself pays dividends for a lifetime. Growth compounds faster and more reliably than money ever could. I often say this, don't chase money. Chase knowledge, chase skill, chase wisdom. Money follows value, and value expands when you invest in who you are becoming. I still remember the first time I bought a book that cost more than a week's wages. I hesitated, I questioned it, but I bought it anyway. That book didn't just offer information, it expanded my thinking. It opened doors in my mind I didn't even know existed. It led to actions that changed my life permanently. Mentors are another powerful form of investment. Find someone who has already walked the path you want to walk. Observe them, learn from them, absorb not only what they know, but how they think, how they decide, how they live by principles. A true mentor accelerates your growth because they allow you to benefit from experience without having to repeat every mistake yourself. Courses, workshops, and seminars are tools for expanding skill and perspective. Every hour you spend learning compounds over time. One afternoon invested in the right environment can trigger a chain of events that alters your direction for years to come. And then there is reflection. Perhaps the most overlooked form of self-investment. Time alone with your thoughts, examining your habits, reviewing your choices. This is where growth is internalized. You cannot increase your value if you don't understand where you are, what works and what doesn't. Reflection turns experience into insight, and insight into wisdom, and wisdom produces results. I've watched people work endlessly, pouring in effort day after day, yet their progress remains limited. Why? Because they work without investing. They exhaust themselves with action while neglecting education, reflection, and learning. The most successful people are not the busiest. They are the most committed to continuous self-development. They nourish their minds, sharpen their abilities, and expand their vision relentlessly. Think of your mind as fertile land. Plant it with knowledge, water it with practice, protect it with discipline. The harvest can be extraordinary, but neglect that field and weeds of mediocrity will take over. That choice is made daily. The compounding effect of self-investment is powerful. A single skill learned today, a habit formed, a principle adopted. Over 5, 10, or 20 years, these multiply, shaping not only your income, but your character, your relationships, your influence, and your sense of purpose. compounded growth becomes unstoppable. So ask yourself a simple but serious question. What am I doing today to invest in myself? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Books, mentors, courses, reflection, they all matter. They all accumulate. They all multiply your value. Here is the real magic. The more you grow, the more value you bring, and the more life responds. Money can be lost. Positions can disappear, markets can collapse, but growth is permanent. Skills, wisdom, attitude, and character can never be taken from you. They compound over time and position you as someone the world cannot ignore. So invest in yourself relentlessly. Turn it into a habit. Make it a discipline. Make it non-negotiable. Continuous self-investment is what separates those who merely exist from those who build lives of abundance, influence, and fulfillment. This is the engine of real value. And that brings us to the final truth. Live as an asset. Don't spend your life chasing success. Become the kind of person success is drawn to. When your value increases, everything you touch increases in value. That principle is simple, and it changes everything. I've known people who spent their entire lives chasing money, titles, recognition. They worked hard, they hustled, they worried, and yet something always felt missing. Success stayed just out of reach. And I realized why. They were chasing the wrong thing. You don't chase success. You attract it, you earn it, you invite it. And you do that by becoming an asset. Someone whose presence, skills, character, and contribution raise the value of every environment they enter. A skilled craftsman increases the value of a project. A strong leader increases the value of a team. A trustworthy individual increases the value of every relationship they touch. When you live as an asset, your influence multiplies. Opportunities seek you out. People want to collaborate with you. Doors open, not because you asked, but because you brought something valuable into the room. Early in my life, I realized that personal growth was the most reliable investment I could ever make, regardless of the economy, regardless of circumstances. If I became more, the world would respond. I learned new skills, refined my habits, strengthened my character, looked for ways to contribute, and slowly, consistently, the results followed. Not because I chased them, but because I became someone worth rewarding. Living as an asset also means consistency. Value is not built in bursts. It is built steadily. The person who shows up every day, who commits to improvement, who continually looks for ways to make things better, becomes someone others rely on. They become irreplaceable, not because they demanded it, but because they earned it. It also means thinking long-term. An asset doesn't burn itself out. It compounds. Your knowledge, reputation, skills, attitude, these are long-term assets. The more you invest in yourself and the more consistently you contribute, the more the world responds. And the rewards aren't limited to money. They show up as respect, influence, strong relationships, meaningful opportunities, and the deep satisfaction of knowing your work matters. So ask yourself, what value am I adding to everything I touch? Am I raising standards, lifting others, solving problems, delivering results? Am I someone people trust and want around? If the answer is yes, then you are living as an asset. And when you live that way, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes the natural result. So don't chase success. Chase growth, chase contribution, chase excellence, chase character, chase skill, chase knowledge. Become someone valuable, someone indispensable, someone the world cannot help but reward. That is how you live as an asset. That is how you increase your value. And when you do, everything you touch, your work, your relationships, your impact, your legacy, begins to rise with you. Live as an asset. Become the person the world is always searching for. That is the art of becoming truly valuable. And when you do, life will respond in ways far greater than you ever imagined. And now let this be the closing reminder that stays with you long after the words fade. Everything you have heard comes down to one simple truth. Your life rises to the level of the value you bring, not the value you hope to bring, not the value you talk about, but the value you consistently live, build, and deliver. The world is not moved by intention alone. It is moved by action, by contribution, by growth made visible through results. You are not here by accident. You are not designed to live an average life, to drift through days, repeating routines without purpose. You were created to grow, to expand, to contribute, to become. Every skill you learn, every habit you improve, every decision you make to act with discipline and integrity shapes the person you are becoming. And that person determines the life you will live. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to recognize your potential. Potential is invisible until it is developed. The world does not reward what you could become. It rewards what you're becoming through daily action. Growth is not dramatic. It is quiet. It happens when no one is watching. It happens in study, in practice, in reflection, in discipline, in choosing the harder path when the easier one is available. Remember this: small decisions repeated daily create massive outcomes over time. One skill learned, one book read, one habit changed, one standard raised. These may seem insignificant in the moment, but compounded over months and years, they transform everything. Your income, your confidence, your relationships, your influence, your legacy. Do not underestimate the power of becoming 1% better each day. That small edge, applied consistently, separates those who struggle from those who rise. The gap between average and exceptional is rarely talent. It is commitment. It is discipline. It is the refusal to settle. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be progressing. You don't need to know everything. You just need to keep learning. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep moving forward. Growth rewards motion. Life responds to momentum. Make this decision today, to live as an asset. To walk into every room asking, how can I add value here? To approach every challenge asking, what can this teach me? To treat your mind, your skills, your character as your greatest investments, because they are. When you live this way, opportunities change, people change, circumstances change. Not because the world became easier, but because you became stronger, more capable, more valuable. And value always attracts reward. So rise. Rise above excuses. Rise above comfort. Rise above the need for approval. Rise into discipline. Rise into growth. Rise into contribution. And as you rise, conquer the habits that hold you back, the fears that limit you, and the doubts that whisper that you are not enough. You are enough, but you are also capable of more. And that journey never ends. Stay committed. Stay disciplined. Stay hungry for growth. Because the world will always make room for those who refuse to stop becoming better. And if this message resonated with you, if it challenged you, motivated you, or reminded you of who you are capable of becoming, subscribe to the channel Rise and Conquer, turn on notifications, and join a community built on discipline, growth, strength, and transformation. This is Rise and Conquer, and this is where you rise and conquer.